One fine day to everyone. This is Luis actually, and I'm gonna be doing pretty much solo since Lentropy or Alan is not gonna be available for today. It's incoming day 3 of the Manila Majors, the second biggest Dota 2 thing to hit the Philippines. But right before we get on with day 3 later on today, it's actually 8 in the morning at June 9th, 2016, right here in the Philippines. Let's just do a quick review of what happened on day number 2. So, match results. We have for the upper bracket the Chinese team Newbie winning over DC Dota after a 2-1 on their best of 3 series. LGD, on the other hand, Newbie's fellow Chinese team fell to the Malaysians, the Southeast Asians Fnatic, with a score of 1-2 or 2-1 rather in favor of Team Fnatic. Meanwhile, for the lower bracket series, we have our first two best of threes in the lower bracket for round number 2. We have Team Liquid eliminating another North American team out of the tournament, Complexity Dota 2-0. Meanwhile, El Clasico, one of the most hyped up events or the matches of the day, and probably the highlight match of the day since it was done on the it was being held as the final match. No offense to Fnatic, though DJ had some pretty slick moves during their match with LGD. Navi, Natos Vincere, born to win, winning over their old rivals Alliance 2-1 and eliminating them out of the tournament. And speaking of the matches though, Fnatic, I'd have to say, securing what is a top 6 spot. I hope that Mushi as well as DJ feels really, really good right now. And DJ actually, no doubt, the MVP of the series, especially game number 3, where he was playing the Enigma, the support Enigma. And while he might not have landed that much great black holes, he was able to manage to pull off one that changed the momentum of the game in favor of Fnatic. And the final black hole, which he did right after purchasing a refresher through the courier. So basically what happened is, in the middle of the final team fight, DJ managed to catch maybe only one player from Team LGD and was forced to, I'm not sure if I'm not really sure. I was watching from the side of the stage. I haven't rewatched the match again. I'm not sure if the black hole was intentionally cancelled prematurely, or maybe it was cancelled by. Yeah, I don't seem to recall DJ being stunned or being disabled, and he has his BKB up already. So, I'm just thinking that maybe he just prematurely cancelled it, waited for his refresher, and it reinitiated again with a near perfect black hole. And that's still the fate for LGD. Meanwhile, speaking of great plays, Navi and Alliance, if you guys were able to watch it on the stream or even live, most likely you would have felt the roar of the crowd in favor, mostly in favor of Navi. Okay, we're gonna admit it. Filipinos are highly biased towards Navi, and it's not something that we should be ashamed of, since we love Dota 2, we love Navi, we love Dendi, especially Dendi. You can't have Navi versus you can't have Navi without Dendi, as far as these past few months are concerned. And this matchup between Alliance, what we'd like to call, or what has been called El Clasico, the rivalry itself, goes way back from the international 3 finals, wherein both teams faced each other in the best of 5 matchups in what is what we all would like to call one of the greatest matches in pro Dota 2 history, and especially since it's done in TI. We are all yet to see a finals match from a Valve sponsored event such as the international, as high level as Navi, and that was way back 2013 more or less. So they've been facing each other for a while now in some other tournaments, but the fact that this matchup was done live on LAN here in Manila just made one big difference. And quick review of how the matchup went. People were cheering about Dendi game one. Alliance took it hands down. They were pretty much dominant. Come game number two. Alliance is well, it's their signature tactic of trying just to aggressively push against the enemy lineup, then maybe split them up, force them to react. But the problem with game number two is even with Loda getting that early radiance on the Naga Siren, we haven't yet to see that uphill push coming from Alliance. Loda was trying to split push, and the former side he was trying to split push, but then he was the only one pushing for the side of Alliance. I mean, Admiral Bulldog had his Night Stalker. Like they want to go for the aggressive early to mid game lineup with the Night Stalker, Naga, as well as the Shrek, and the problem is it was only it entered late game. It entered the late game phase. Not only Loda was trying to chip through Navi's tier 3 towers, and Navi held on patience. Those multiple boots of travels, level 2 boots of travels, had paid off for them with Dendi handling the Nyx Assassin in game number 2, and he was just purely scouting. Once he got his level 6, once he gets his Blink Dagger, he was just purely scouting Alliance's jungles, trying to, pressure the rest of the Alliance squad. While they say, okay, we'll let Loda push, but as long as Loda is the only one pushing, then we're good. Then Ditchara and the Huskar started to farm up, then you have General and the Slaughter starting to farm up, then it came to a point where in Alliance, we're not able to kill the Navi scores, Ditchara as well as General. So they invested a lot and they lost game number 2. Come game number 3, and we've seen a lot of signature picks coming in from both teams. Well, not much on the side of Alliance though. Well, there was the Nature's Prophet on Admiral Bulldog, and you've had the Queen of Pain on S4. When it comes to talking about the signature picks, Loda himself went for the Slardar, the Slytherin Guard. Meanwhile, for Navi, their course, they've had that Lycan on Ditchara, and Navi, or Dendi, keep on saying Navi, Dendi on the other hand, was able to secure the Invoker against the S4 Queen of Pain. And I just gotta say, most of the time there are some doubts about how Dendi plays the Invoker, because he might be that really good when it comes to the lane, when it comes to the team fights, but I believe that was during in TI4. I believe that was TI4, wherein his Invoker was almost nearly useless. You see, Dendi has this tendency to try and create plays, to try and find the place, to create space for his team, or to help create space for his team. But the problem is, he can pretty much spend like, I don't know, 10 to 15 minutes inside the sideline, the trees on the side lanes, and virtually do nothing. I mean, if he can't find those targets, he's practically useless. No matter how much farm he gets, but at this game, then they finished with a 5, 12, and 17 on the kill deaths and assist scoreboard. 17 assists for Navi. That was the third highest. First came from the two supports. You have Suneko with 22 and Arsenal 24. Actually, it's the fourth since General has this 21. And Navi, during this game number 3, they really moved as a unit. I mean, once General starts to find those blink-in lassos, you're most likely to see a quick follow-up from the waiting supports R-Style Soneko, then Dendi coming in last. We did Jara with 14 and 1. just barges in if he needs to be, or if he really needs to be inside the fight. Team Alliance, on the other hand, pretty much okay-ish during the early game. Actually, they run Loda up against General on the Batrider, and Loda was able to secure himself a very early. I believe that was the that was a Vanguard, like a prep up for the team fights that Navi will be using. So it could be, yeah, he was building up for that early Crimson Guard, and they were pretty much on the road to take the Roshan. We just track down at which minute that was. They were very much on the road to take on Roshan and try to secure, some kills of their own. But the problem is, again, General, who even if Loda hit level 6 and General was still level 3, he still managed to catch up and get that blink at around the around the 10-minute mark. So it's still a very great timing for the Batrider to get the blink there at that part. And once Alliance attempted for Roshan, General just quickly blinked into Loda, lassoed him up to the cliff where there was no way for Loda to come down unless he has a TP. And that was a problem. Loda doesn't have a TP. He was stuck there for a good 2-3 minutes watching his teammates die. He tried to zone out Navi using the Slithering Crush, but it really just was not enough. And that spelled the downfall. Starting from there, the Alliance, they still tried to put up a valiant fight. They lasted up until 38 minutes before finally conceding to not lose wins here to Team Navi, 34-13. And man, those gangs, those aggression. And of course, utilizing the track gold from Soneko, who has 22 assists. I believe more than half, about 80% of these skills, granted track gold. And you can just see just how rich Navi supports are. Artstyle himself was able to farm up for a Hurricane Pipe. And that's an Vengeful Spirit. So it's a Crimson Guard. So Nako also has a Greaves, he has Boots, he has Drums. Whereas if you want to take a look at Alliance's side, the biggest items for their supports was Ake halfway to the Mechanism and EGM with an Arcane Boots, as well as the Staff of Wizardry for the 4-staff. This was the case for Navi 2 on game number 1, wherein both Tsuneko and Artstyle were no, it was Artstyle, Tsuneko rather, who was severely underfarmed since Artstyle was running the Chen, and he kind of looked like a position number 3 Chen. So 2-1 in favor of Navi. Probably the highlight game of the day for game number 2. But that's going to be contested by DJ's place on his Enigma against LGD. And DJ, I also want to talk about him by a little bit. He has gone through, some huge progress ever since he went abroad. I started with Korea in Eye of the Storm Hammer, but they weren't able to really achieve, something big when until he was drafted in for Rave. And one of their most notable achievements was finishing, on a top 6, or finishing top 6, top 5, top 6 in the Dota 2 Asian Championships, which was then deemed as the Asian International. And then afterwards, when Rave was not able to get that needed TI direct invite and failed in the qualifiers, DJ was drafted into Fnatic back in 2015, and for a year Fnatic has been or has had that very dominant hold, that brutal hold on the top spot in Southeast Asia, with a close rival being MVP Phoenix. And right now, making it to the quarterfinals, I believe, and will be facing off another Chinese team, Newbie. Fnatic has had a chance to at least make it into a Southeast Asia versus Southeast Asia on the winners bracket finals, and maybe secure a spot for top 3. And at this form, well, people may be they're more or less rooting for newbie to win today. Yes, they will have that match today. But we're all still hopeful for Fnatic, even the Filipino fans. Fnatic is like one of the closest to a tier 1 Filipino team that the Filipino fans can get. Because, it'll be pretty much close with Malaysia, and Mushi has been here, for a lot of times now, as well as Ohio. That was 2 years ago. They competed for a tournament right here in the Philippines. And of course, DJ, the overseas Filipino gamer, as what some people would like to call him. And yes, matches. Let me just quickly run down through the matches scheduled for today. We have MBV Phoenix versus OG, Newbie versus Fnatic. Later on, because we're gonna start with DC Dota versus Vici Gaming Reborn in the losers bracket, and followed up by LGD and Empire on the next round. So we are pretty much gonna be kicking off the matches with the lower bracket first, then reserve the upper bracket matches later. And that's gonna be a wrap for today, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is Luis from the Raymer of Files. And if you're gonna come in later at Manila Major for game number 3, we'll see you around. Have a great day, folks. Enjoy some great Dota and continue playing on some video games.